Madam Speaker, a few weeks ago, the Prime Minister said that it was essential in the national interest that our options remained open on a single currency and that he expected Conservative candidates to stand on that national manifesto. Is that still his expectation of Conservative candidates?
I think the right honourable gentleman, before taking me to task on this, should perhaps talk to the scores of his own MPs that the right honourable gentleman, the member for Bethnal Green and Stepney, said would oppose his stance. As the right honourable gentleman said, and I quote, "I think it's an obligation to be honest with my own electorate," the right honourable gentleman said.
That's Peter Shaw he's talking about.
The right honourable gentleman wouldn't understand that. He entered the House on an election address which demanded Britain's withdrawal from the community. Even though, Madam Speaker, he said later, "I wasn't actually opposed to membership of the European community. I said within the closed doors of the Labour Party that I disagreed with the policy." Behind closed doors, he says one thing, in public another. Not the politics of conviction, but convenience, saying anything to get a vote. And that is what he advocates to his candidates.
Madam Speaker, if I can... Madam Speaker, the Labour Party put its manifesto to its membership and got 95% support. I doubt that he could put his manifesto to his cabinet and get 95% support. After all, I was only asking him to agree with what he himself said a few weeks ago. Well, if he can't say that he now expects Conservative candidates to do that, has he still the vestige of authority and courage left to stand at that dispatch box and say now that at least he strongly urges and seeks to persuade Conservative candidates to stand on his and the government's position?
The right honourable gentleman is just being plain silly. Is he telling this House that the right honourable gentleman, the honourable member for Bolsover, the right honourable gentleman for Chesterfield, the honourable gentleman for Newham are actually going to support his policy on Europe at the general election? He raises it on this day of all days. The first two Labour questioners on the order paper are both amongst the 50 who say we should not join a single currency. He may ask his candidates to fib to the electorate. Our candidates will set out their views. We will follow the policy that the government have set out. And people know our policy. What he's trying to do is to censor and smother what his party stands for.
I asked him two questions. I said, as he himself said a few weeks ago, does he expect them to stand on the same manifesto? I answer it, yes. I then asked him, will he at least seek to persuade people to stand on the same manifesto? I answer yes. He is so weak and powerless he can't even say. Well, is it not? He cannot even get to that. Oh, yes. Yeah. Is it not extraordinary?
Order! House must come to order.
Extraordinary. Isn't it extraordinary that the Prime Minister of our country can't even urge his party to support his own position? Yeah. Weak. Yeah. Weak. And I tell him, that is the reason. His weakness and his failure of leadership are the reason his government is the incompetent mess it is.
Whenever the right honourable gentleman gets abusive, we know he's losing. We know he's losing. If he is concerned about strength, Will he today sack the honourable member for Oldham East, who yesterday contradicted what he said about tax?
Michael Meacher.
Will he today sack the Deputy Chief Whip of the Labour Party, who yesterday contradicted what was said about tax? All he does is heckle and waft his arms around in a hopeless gesture. Yes or no? Will he sack them or not? His policy, they are members of his shadow cabinet. They have denied his policy. We have set out consistently what our policy is. I had said it is important to keep the options, all of the options open. All of the options open. The honourable gentleman sniggers. I'm quoting his words, not mine. Keep all of the options open. He has followed in grandmother's footsteps in following policy after policy of ours. He says we should keep the options open. We keep the options open. But his policy apparently means something quite different, because he dare not admit what his policy is.
Well, Tony Blair was trying to come back for a fourth try, but convention has it he only has 3.